My name is Margaret. I am 72 years old and I live in Texas, USA. Before I start, I want you to do something for me. Please subscribe, like this video, and click the notification button so you don't miss any of my upcoming stories. And tell me, from which part of the country are you watching this from? I would love to know. Now let's go straight into the story. It was the night before my wedding. My dress was already hanging neatly by the window. My shoes shined so bright that I could see my reflection in them. And my heart was beating with the sweetest joy I had ever felt in my life. But in just one night, all that joy turned into a nightmare. That night, my father came into my room. He was not drunk. He was not angry. He was simply quiet, too quiet. He closed the door gently, locked it, and turned toward me with a face I will never forget. His eyes were dark, heavy, and filled with something no daughter should ever see in her father's eyes. "Daddy?" I asked, my voice shaking. He walked slowly to me, his breath heavy, his steps dragging. And then, he did the unthinkable. That night, my own father took away my innocence. On the very eve of my wedding day, he stained my life with his sin. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run, but my voice was gone, and my legs were frozen. When it was all over, he whispered coldly in my ear, "No one must ever know." The tears rolled down my face as I stared at my white wedding gown. The same gown I had dreamed of wearing since I was a child. Suddenly, it felt like nothing but a cruel joke. I thought my life was over. And that was just the beginning. Now let me take you back, so you can understand how I even got to that terrible night. Growing up, I thought I had the perfect family. My father was respected in our small town. People saw him as a hard-working man, always in his church suit on Sundays, shaking hands with neighbors, giving advice like he was some kind of saint. My mother was quiet, always busy in the kitchen or the garden. She smiled a lot, but behind that smile there was sadness. At the time, I didn't understand why. I was the first daughter out of 3 children. My younger brothers were loud and playful, always running around the house, while I was the calm one. I loved to sit by the window and write in my little notebook, dreaming of what my future would look like. I thought I would one day marry a kind man, live in a big house with a porch, and have children who would call me Mama. When I met William, everything seemed like destiny. He was tall, gentle, and had the kind of smile that could melt away your worries. He worked at the local farm, and though he didn't have much money, he had something better. He had a good heart. He treated me with respect, spoke to me like I mattered, and made me laugh in ways I never thought possible. My father never liked him. He would say, "That boy can't give you the life you deserve." But I didn't care. For the first time in my life, I felt seen. And so when William asked me to marry him, I said yes without a second thought. The days leading up to the wedding were filled with excitement. My friends came to help me with preparations. The house was filled with laughter and music. Everyone was happy, except my father. He grew quieter each day. He avoided looking at me. When he did, his eyes were heavy with something I could not name. I thought maybe it was just jealousy, the thought of losing his daughter. But deep down, a small voice whispered that something darker was there. The night before my wedding, my mother brought me a cup of warm milk and kissed my forehead. "Sleep well, my child," she said. "Tomorrow your new life begins." If only she knew what tomorrow would really bring. That was when he came into my room. That was when my life turned upside down. That was when I realized that sometimes, evil doesn't come from strangers outside. Sometimes it comes from the very people who are supposed to protect you. After he left, I lay on my bed trembling. My wedding was only hours away, but I felt dirty, broken, and unworthy. I asked myself, should I still marry William? Should I tell him? Should I run away? My tears soaked my pillow until the morning light crept in. And just as I was about to make a decision, something happened that shook the entire household. My mother knocked on my door, but before I could answer, she pushed it open. She saw me curled up, crying, my gown wrinkled from my shaking hands. She dropped the tray she was carrying, and the glass shattered on the floor. She looked at me, then at the locked door, then back at me. Her face turned pale. She whispered, "Oh dear God, he didn't." And just like that, she knew. My mother's words froze in the air. "Oh dear God, he didn't." Her hands trembled, and the tray she had dropped still lay scattered on the floor, the glass glittering like broken stars. She stepped inside my room slowly, as if she was afraid to hear my answer. I couldn't speak. My lips moved, but no sound came out. Instead, tears poured down my face. That was enough. She knew. A mother always knows. She rushed to me, knelt down, and pulled me into her arms. "My baby, my poor baby," she whispered, rocking me back and forth like I was a child again. Her tears wet my hair as she held me close. For a moment, I felt safe again, but that feeling didn't last. My mother suddenly pulled away, her eyes wide with fear. "You cannot tell anyone," she said quickly, gripping my shoulders. "Do you hear me? No one can know about this." Her words cut me like a knife. "Mama." But he. She covered my mouth with her hand. "Joe, if people find out, it will destroy us. Your father is a respected man. The shame will kill us." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mother, my gentle, loving mother, was telling me to stay silent. "But Mama, what about me?" I cried. "What about my life? How can I marry William now?" Her face hardened. She had that same sadness I had always seen, but now I understood it. This wasn't the first time. She knew what my father was capable of. She had been carrying her own secret pain all these years. She looked at me with tired eyes and said, "You will marry William. You will not speak of this again. If you love me, you will keep quiet." I felt like the walls were closing in. Not only had my father stolen my innocence, but now my mother was asking me to bury the truth. My wedding day felt like a trap I couldn't escape. Still, I said nothing. My heart was in pieces. The hours slipped by, and soon it was time to get ready. My bridesmaids came into the room, laughing and singing. They saw my swollen eyes, but I told them I was just nervous. They believed me. I forced myself into that gown, though every touch of the fabric felt like a lie. The church was filled with people. The flowers were beautiful, the music sweet, and William stood at the altar, smiling at me with all the love in the world. As I walked down the aisle, everyone saw a happy bride. But inside I was screaming. Every step felt heavier, my heart begging me to turn back. Yet I kept walking. I kept smiling, because that was what everyone expected. When I reached William, he took my hand and whispered, "You look like an angel." His touch was warm and sincere, and I almost broke down right there. The ceremony went on, and I repeated the vows like a puppet, my voice hollow. When William kissed me, the crowd cheered, but inside I felt nothing. After the ceremony, we had the reception at my father's house. Everyone was dancing, eating, and celebrating. My father sat proudly at the head table, shaking hands, laughing, acting like the perfect family man. No one could see the monster sitting there. I avoided his eyes all evening, but at one point he caught me staring. His smile was thin, almost mocking, and I quickly looked away. My stomach turned. William noticed. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. I forced a smile. "Yes, just tired." But I wasn't tired. I was broken. Later that night, when everyone had left and William carried me to our new home, I tried to act normal. He kissed me gently, whispering how much he loved me. But when he tried to come closer, I flinched. He pulled back, hurt in his eyes. Did I do something wrong? I shook my head, tears welling up. "No, it's not you." He looked confused, but he didn't push me. Instead, he held me and said, "It's okay. We have the rest of our lives." But I knew we didn't. Because how could a marriage built on silence and secrets survive? Days turned into weeks, and I tried to live like nothing happened. William was kind, patient, and loving. But every time he touched me, my father's shadow stood between us. I wanted to tell William the truth, but my mother's warning echoed in my ears. One night, as I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, I heard a knock on the door. It was late, too late for visitors. William was asleep beside me. My heart raced as I quietly slipped out of bed and went to the door. When I opened it, my breath caught in my throat. It was my father, standing there in the dark, his face cold and serious. He whispered, "We need to talk." When I saw my father standing at the door that night, my whole body went cold. It was as if time stopped. The man who should have been the happiest father in the world, happy that his daughter was married, was instead standing outside my home like a shadow waiting to swallow me. He didn't smile. He didn't greet me. He just whispered, "We need to talk." For a moment I froze. My hands gripped the doorframe so tightly that my knuckles turned white. "Daddy, what are you doing here? It's past midnight." His eyes darted past me, looking into the house, making sure William was asleep. Then he leaned closer. His voice was sharp and low. "You will never speak of what happened that night. Do you understand me?" My throat felt dry. I couldn't even breathe properly. "Daddy, please don't come here. You've done enough." But he didn't care about my tears. He only cared about his secret. "If you tell anyone," he said slowly, "I will ruin William. I will ruin you. I will make sure the whole town spits on your name." The threat hit me like a storm. My father knew exactly where to hurt me. He knew I loved William too much to let his life be destroyed because of me. "I won't tell," I whispered, trembling. "Please just leave." He stared at me for a long moment, then nodded once. "Good girl. Remember, your silence keeps everyone safe." And then, just as quickly as he came, he disappeared into the night. I shut the door and slid down to the floor, shaking. My heart pounded so loudly I was afraid it would wake William. I wanted to run to my husband, bury my face in his chest, and tell him everything. But then my mother's voice echoed in my mind. "If people find out, it will destroy us." So I kept quiet. The next morning, William noticed my pale face. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he joked lightly, trying to cheer me up. I forced a laugh. Just couldn't sleep well. But inside, I was drowning. The weeks that followed were both sweet and bitter. William was a good man. He worked hard on the farm. He made sure I had everything I needed. And he never stopped reminding me that I was loved. With him, I had moments of peace, moments where I could almost forget the darkness in my past. But every time I visited my parents' house, the fear returned. My father would sit at the table, reading his newspaper, acting like nothing had ever happened. My mother would avoid my eyes, busying herself in the kitchen, her silence speaking louder than words. One Sunday after church, William suggested we visit my parents for lunch. My stomach twisted, but I couldn't refuse without raising suspicion. When we arrived, my father greeted William warmly, clapping him on the back, laughing like the proud father-in-law he pretended to be. But when his eyes met mine, his smile faltered. It was a silent warning. During lunch, William was full of joy, telling stories and making everyone laugh. My mother kept glancing at me nervously, her hands shaking every time she poured water. And my father? He sat there, quiet, his gaze heavy on me. I pushed food around my plate, unable to swallow. Every bite felt like poison. After the meal, William stepped outside to check on something in the garden. The moment he was gone, my father leaned toward me, his voice low but sharp. "Remember what I said?" Not a word. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped my fork. My mother whispered, "Please let her be." But my father silenced her with a glare. That was when I realized something. My mother had been living under this man's shadow all her life. And now he had trapped me in the same prison. That night, when William and I returned home, he pulled me close and said, "I don't know what's wrong, but I feel like you're hiding something from me." My chest tightened. The secret was eating me alive. My husband was kind and patient, but how long could I keep lying to him? I almost told him that night. My lips parted, the words right on the edge. But then I remembered my father's threat. "I will ruin William. I will ruin you." So instead, I shook my head and whispered, "I'm just tired." Weeks turned into months, and I thought maybe I could keep surviving like this. But life has a way of bringing secrets to light. One evening, while William was at work, I went to visit my mother alone. She looked thinner, weaker, as if the weight of silence was crushing her soul. She grabbed my hands and whispered, "Margaret, I cannot carry this anymore. I should have stopped him years ago. I should have protected you." Her eyes filled with tears. For the first time, she admitted the truth. "He did it to me too. For years. And now to you. I am so sorry, my child." I broke down in her arms, the two of us crying together, bound by the same wound. But before we could say another word, the front door slammed open. It was my father. He stood there, his face red with rage, his eyes burning like fire. He had heard everything. The door slammed so hard the whole house shook. My mother and I froze, our tears still fresh on our faces. My father stood there in the doorway, his shoulders rising and falling like a raging bull. His eyes cut through us like knives. "What did you just say?" he growled. My mother's hands tightened around mine, but they trembled like leaves in the wind. She tried to speak, but no words came out. I could feel her fear, and it terrified me. He stepped forward, his boots thudding against the wooden floor. His face was dark with anger, his jaw tight. "So you've been talking. You couldn't keep your mouth shut." I wanted to run, but my legs felt like they were nailed to the ground. "Daddy, please," I whispered, my voice shaking. He turned on my mother first. "You stupid woman," he spat. "After all these years you open your mouth? Do you want to destroy this family? Do you want the whole town laughing at us?" My mother stood, shaking, her lips trembling. No, I can't hide it anymore. What you've done is wrong. It's evil. You ruined me, and now you've ruined our daughter. Enough is enough." The silence that followed was like thunder before a storm. My father's face twisted into something I had never seen before, pure, dangerous rage. In one swift motion, he raised his hand and struck her across the face. The sound echoed through the room. My mother stumbled, crashing into the table, her cheek red and swollen. "Stop it!" I screamed, rushing to her side. "Don't touch her." He turned to me, his eyes wild. For a moment, I thought he would hit me too. But instead, he leaned down close, his voice low and poisonous. "You think you can defy me? You think you can shame me in my own house? Let me tell you something, girl. You belong to me. You always will. If you ever speak of this again, I swear, I will make sure William never looks at you the same. I'll destroy everything you love." His words felt like chains around my neck. My mother sobbed, holding her face, while I held her trembling body. I wanted to fight back. I wanted to scream and tell the world what kind of monster he was. But fear silenced me once again. After a long pause, my father straightened his coat and walked to the door. Before leaving, he turned and said coldly, "This conversation never happened. Remember that." Then he was gone. The moment the door shut, I broke down. My mother clung to me, crying, "I'm so sorry. I should have protected you. I should have run away long ago." I felt numb. Part of me wanted to pack my things and leave that very night, but where would I go? I was married now. I couldn't bring this shame to William. And yet, the secret was eating me alive. When I returned home that evening, William noticed my swollen eyes. "Margaret," he said softly, cupping my face. "What is happening? I can see the pain in you. Please trust me." I wanted to pour out everything, to let him carry my burden. But the image of my father's rage burned in my mind. His threats echoed in my ears. So instead I whispered, "It's nothing. Just family issues." William looked at me for a long time. His eyes were filled with worry, but he didn't push me. "All right," he said quietly. "But remember, you're not alone. Whatever it is, we can face it together." His kindness cut deeper than a knife. I wanted so badly to believe his words. The days went by, heavy with silence. I tried to smile, to cook, to laugh with William. But at night, when he slept peacefully beside me, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of my father's shadow pressing down on me. And then one evening, everything changed. I was sitting on the porch, watching the sunset, when I saw someone walking up the path. At first, I thought it was William returning early from work. But as the figure grew closer, my heart dropped. It was my father. He had come again. But this time he wasn't alone. He was holding something in his hand. A piece of paper folded neatly, and an envelope. When he reached the porch, he looked straight at me and said, "If you don't do as I say, I will send this letter to William." I wrote down everything. Every detail. "I'll make sure he knows you're not the woman he thinks you are." My blood ran cold. He wasn't just threatening anymore. He was ready to destroy my marriage. The paper in my father's hand looked so small, yet it carried the power to destroy everything I had left. He waved it at me like a weapon, his smirk cruel and cold. "You think you can hide from me?" he said, his voice low but sharp. "One word from me, and William will know everything. He will never look at you again. He will leave you. And then where will you go? I felt my chest tighten. The thought of William reading that letter, of him seeing me not as his bride, but as something ruined and unworthy, made me want to collapse right there. Daddy, please, I begged, my voice breaking. Don't do this. Don't ruin me. Haven't you done enough already? But his face showed no mercy. I told you before. You belong to me, and you will do as I say. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, to tear the paper from his hands, but fear chained me in place. My hands shook at my sides, my throat dry. Just then, I heard footsteps behind me. William. Margaret? Who's that at the door? He called from inside. My heart nearly stopped. Panic surged through me. If William came out and saw my father standing there with that letter, everything would unravel. Quickly, I stepped forward, blocking the porch, forcing a weak smile toward the doorway. It's just my father, William. He was passing by and decided to check on me. William stepped onto the porch, wiping his hands on his shirt, his face warm and trusting. Oh, hello, sir. Good to see you again. My father's smirk widened as he slipped the letter back into his coat pocket. Good evening, son, he said smoothly, his voice polite, his tone full of lies. Just wanted to make sure my daughter was doing well. William nodded kindly. She's doing wonderful. I take good care of her. Ah, yes, I can see that, my father said, his eyes flicking toward me in a silent warning. You're a lucky man. The conversation was short, but it felt like an eternity. When William finally excused himself to fetch some water inside, my father leaned in close, his words sharp against my ear. Remember what I said. One wrong move, and the letter goes straight to him. Then he turned and walked away into the fading light, leaving me trembling on the porch. That night, I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. William noticed, of course. He always did. He tried to hold me, but my body stiffened. He asked me what was wrong, but all I could whisper was, I'm fine. But I wasn't fine. I was trapped in my father's prison, chained by fear and shame. The next few days were torture. Every time William kissed me, I thought of that letter. Every time he looked at me with love, I wondered how long it would last if he knew the truth. One afternoon, as I was folding laundry, I heard a knock at the door. My heart jumped. Slowly I opened it. It was my mother. Her eyes were red, her face pale. She slipped inside quickly, glancing around as if afraid someone was watching. Margaret, she whispered, clutching my hands. He's planning something. He left last night with that letter. I think he's going to use it against you. My stomach dropped. Mama, what do I do? If William reads that letter, my life is over. Tears streamed down her face. I don't know, my child. But I cannot let this continue. I have lived in his shadow too long. And now he's destroying you too. I cannot stay silent anymore. Her voice was firm in a way I had never heard before. I will stop him. I shook my head desperately. No, Mama. He'll hurt you. You know what he's capable of. But she only pressed my hands tighter. I don't care. I am his wife, but I am also your mother. I should have fought for you the first time. I will not fail you again. Her words pierced through me like sunlight breaking through dark clouds. For the first time I saw a flicker of strength in her eyes. But my relief didn't last long. That same evening, William returned from work, his face serious. He held something in his hand, an envelope. Margaret, he said slowly, his voice tight. I found this letter in our mailbox today. It has your name on it, but it's from your father. The room spun. My legs weakened. The very thing I had feared most was in my husband's hands. Do you want me to open it? William asked, studying my face. My lips parted, but no sound came out. My heart was pounding so loudly I thought I would faint. Before I could answer, he slid his finger under the seal. And in that moment, my world began to collapse. My breath caught in my throat as I watched William tear open the envelope. The paper unfolded slowly in his hands, each second stretching like an eternity. Margaret, he whispered, scanning the words with growing confusion. His eyes moved line by line, and then his face changed. His brows furrowed. His jaw tightened. I wanted to grab the letter from him, to tear it into pieces before his eyes could reach the bottom. But my body was frozen in place. When he finally looked up, his eyes were no longer soft and loving. They were sharp, wounded, searching. "Is this true?" he asked, his voice low, trembling between anger and disbelief. "Margaret, tell me this isn't true." Tears blurred my vision. "William, please. Answer me," he snapped, louder this time, the paper shaking in his hand. "Your father. He wrote that the night before our wedding, he forced himself on you." His voice cracked as he spoke, the words heavy with disgust. "Tell me this isn't true." I broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. "I didn't want you to know. I didn't want to lose you." His hands trembled as he lowered the letter. He paced the room, gripping his hair, his breaths uneven. "My God. Margaret, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you trust me?" "I was scared," I cried. "He threatened me, William. He said he would ruin us if I ever spoke. I kept silent because I love you. I couldn't bear to lose you." William stopped pacing. He stared at me, his face torn between love and rage. He walked closer, his eyes wet with tears. "You should have told me. We could have faced this together. Instead, I found out from him. The devil who hurt you." My chest heaved with sobs. I reached for him, but he pulled back, the pain too raw. Silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating. The letter lay on the floor between us like a curse. Finally, William sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. "Margaret, I love you. Nothing changes that. But I cannot let this man go free. He needs to pay for what he did." Fear shot through me.
"No, William.
"Please, you don't understand. If you confront him, he'll destroy everything. He's powerful, respected in town. No one will believe us." But William's eyes burned with fire. "I don't care if no one believes me. A man who does this to his own daughter should rot in hell. I'll go to the sheriff. I'll tell them everything." I shook my head desperately. "You'll put yourself in danger. He'll come after you. He'll come after us both." But William's mind was made up. "I'd rather die fighting for the truth than live in silence while he walks free." That night, William left the house, the letter in his pocket, determination in his steps. I wanted to stop him, to hold him back, but he pushed my hands gently aside. "Trust me, Margaret," he said. "This ends now." I stood by the window watching him disappear into the night, my heart pounding with fear. My hands clutched my chest, trembling. Hours passed. The clock ticked loudly in the silence. My mother's words echoed in my head. "I will stop him." William's voice repeated, "This ends now." But then, just as midnight approached, there was a knock at my door. I rushed to open it, expecting William, but what I saw made my blood turn to ice. It was not William. It was my father, and his shirt was stained with blood. When I saw him standing there, the blood on his shirt dark and sticky, my knees nearly gave way. My throat closed up and a scream caught in my chest. Where's William?" I whispered, my voice trembling, my heart pounding so loudly I could barely hear myself. My father smirked, his face twisted with something evil. He stepped inside uninvited, the smell of sweat and iron filling the air. He closed the door behind him with a slow creak, sealing me in with his darkness. "Your husband," he said, his voice low and mocking, "thought he could play hero. He came to me tonight, waving that letter in my face, demanding justice." He chuckled darkly. "Justice? What a foolish boy." I shook my head, tears burning my eyes. No, tell me you didn't hurt him. Please, tell me he's alive." My father leaned close, his lips curling into a cruel smile. "Alive? For now. But let this be a warning, Margaret. If you or he ever try to expose me again, I will not hesitate to finish what I started. Do you understand me?" My body shook violently, fear gripping every part of me. "Where is he? What did you do to him?" He straightened his coat, brushing off his bloody shirt like it was nothing. "He's lying outside the old mill on River Road. Maybe he's still breathing. Maybe not. If you hurry, you might just find out." My scream ripped through the house. I pushed past him, running barefoot into the night, the cold ground cutting at my feet. My heart raced as I sprinted toward the mill, every shadow twisting into monsters. The moon lit my path and soon I saw him. William. He was sprawled on the ground, his shirt torn, blood staining his chest. His face was pale, his breath shallow. For a moment I thought I was too late. "William!" I cried, dropping to my knees beside him, pressing my trembling hands against his wound. "Stay with me. Please stay with me." His eyelids fluttered and he whispered weakly, "Margaret." His voice was faint, broken. He tried to kill me. But you can't let him win." My tears fell onto his face as I sobbed. "I won't let you die. I won't." But his breaths were growing weaker, fading like smoke in the wind. I screamed for help, my voice echoing in the night. My hands were soaked in his blood, my heart breaking with every second that passed. Finally, headlights cut through the darkness. A car approached. My mother's voice rang out, desperate and broken. She had followed me. Between the two of us, we lifted William into the car and sped toward town, praying he would survive the night. At the hospital, the doctors rushed him into surgery. I collapsed into a chair, my dress torn, my hands red with his blood. My mother sat beside me, holding my hand tightly, both of us shaking. Hours dragged on like years. Finally, a doctor came out, his face serious. "He lost a lot of blood," he said. "But he's alive. For now." Relief washed over me, but it was thin, fragile. My father's shadow still loomed over us. He had crossed the line, and I knew he wouldn't stop until he had destroyed everything. That night, as I sat by William's bedside, watching his chest rise and fall, a new fire lit inside me. I couldn't stay silent anymore. I couldn't let my father win. But before I could even decide what to do next, the hospital doors slammed open. And there he was, my father, with the sheriff by his side. The hospital doors swung open with a loud crash, making everyone in the waiting room turn their heads. My father walked in with his head high, his shirt changed, his face calm, like he was a man with nothing to hide. But beside him was the sheriff, tall, stern, and trusted by everyone in our small town. My stomach sank. My mother squeezed my hand tightly, whispering under her breath, "He's going to twist it. He's going to make them believe you and William are the problem." The sheriff's boots thudded against the hospital floor as he approached us. "Margaret," he said firmly, his eyes narrowing. "We've had some troubling reports tonight. Your father tells me William attacked him. He claims he acted in self-defense." My mouth fell open. "What? That's a lie. It was the other way around. He nearly killed William." The sheriff frowned. "Careful, young lady. These are serious accusations." My father stepped forward, shaking his head slowly, his voice full of false sorrow. "Sheriff, please don't be too hard on her. She's confused. The poor girl has always been delicate. And now, with her husband injured, her mind is not clear." I gasped. My own father was painting me as weak, unstable, incapable of telling the truth. "That's not true," I shouted, my voice cracking. "He's the one who attacked William. He's been hurting us for years." The sheriff's expression hardened. "Do you have proof of these claims?" My throat went dry. Proof? How could I show proof of nights stolen, of threats whispered in the dark, of wounds that never bled on the outside? All I had were scars in my soul, and no one could see those. My father sighed heavily, lowering his eyes like a man carrying a burden. "Sheriff, my daughter has always had a wild imagination. I tried to raise her right, but she's been troubled. Ask around town. Everyone knows William was never good enough for her. Now he attacks me, and she blames me for it." The sheriff turned to me again. His voice was stern. "Margaret, unless you have evidence, your father's word holds weight in this town. He's respected. People trust him. If you want me to believe you, you'd better have something solid." I felt my knees weaken. My chest heaved as I looked at William through the glass window of his room, lying pale and broken on the hospital bed. How could I fight this monster when the whole world saw him as a saint? Tears blurred my vision. My mother gripped my shoulders and finally spoke up, her voice shaking but clear. "Sheriff, it's true. He's not the man you think he is. He hurt me. For years. And now he's hurting our daughter. Don't believe his lies." The room went still. My father's face darkened instantly. His mask cracked for just a second before he quickly forced a sad smile. "She's confused too, Sheriff. My wife has always been fragile. This family is broken, and now they want to drag me down with them. The sheriff scratched his chin, clearly torn. On one side stood a respected man, a father who looked strong, calm, and steady. On the other side were two broken women, their voices trembling, their faces stained with tears. Who would he believe? I stood tall despite the fear. "Sheriff," I said firmly, my voice trembling but strong, "if you don't believe me, then come with me. I'll show you where he left William to die. I'll show you the blood on the ground at the mill." The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "That's a serious claim, Margaret. If what you're saying is false, it will only make things worse for you." "Then let's go," I said, my hands shaking. "Take me there right now." My father's eyes locked onto mine, and for the first time, I saw something that looked like panic flash through them. He quickly tried to cover it with a smile, but I had seen it. He knew I was right. The sheriff hesitated, then nodded. "All right. We'll go." We all moved toward the exit. The sheriff, my father, my mother, and me. My legs felt weak, but a fire burned in my chest. Maybe, just maybe, this was the moment his lies would finally unravel. But just as we reached the doors, a nurse rushed out of William's room, her face pale. "Doctor," she shouted down the hall. "He's crashing. His heart, he's not breathing." I screamed William's name and tried to run to him, but the sheriff grabbed my arm, holding me back. And my father, he smiled. "Clear." The doctor's voice rang out as I watched through the glass. They pressed the defibrillator pads to William's chest, his body jerking violently with each shock. My cries tore from my throat, but the sheriff still held me back. "Let me go," I screamed. "Please. He needs me." The nurse rushed in and out, carrying bags of blood, syringes, and wires. The machines beeped wildly. William's face was pale, so pale it looked like the life had already drained from him. My mother sobbed into her hands, whispering prayers under her breath. And my father? He leaned against the wall, calm, collected, his lips curled into the faintest smile. He didn't see a dying man. He saw victory. The machines wailed a flat line. My heart stopped. "Time of death," the doctor began. "Wait," another nurse cried. "We've got a pulse. It's weak, but he's still here." I fell to my knees, relief flooding through me like a wave. William wasn't gone. Not yet. God had given me a second chance to hold on to him. But the sheriff's grip only tightened. "Margaret," he said firmly, "you're not going in there. You need to calm down before I consider your claims seriously." I turned on him, my eyes blazing with tears. "You don't understand. If he dies, the truth dies with him. He's the only one who can tell you what my father did." The sheriff's jaw clenched, torn between duty and doubt. My father stepped forward, his voice low and poisoned. "Sheriff, she's hysterical. Look at her. Out of control, ranting, accusing. Don't let her drag this hospital into her madness." I snapped, my anger bursting through the fear. "You almost killed him. You wanted him dead so no one would ever know what you've done to me." The words hung in the air like thunder. Gasps came from the nurses nearby. My father's face hardened, his mask of calm slipping just enough for me to see the darkness underneath. The sheriff raised a hand. "Enough. Both of you." He looked at me, then at my father. His brow furrowed, like he was finally starting to see cracks in my father's perfect facade. "Tomorrow morning, we're going to that mill. If there's evidence, we'll find it. Until then, both of you stay put." My father gave a slow nod, but his eyes never left me. His stare was cold, full of silent threats. That night, I sat by William's bedside, holding his hand, listening to the faint beeps of the heart monitor. My mother dozed in the chair beside me, but I couldn't close my eyes. Not when I knew my father was still out there, plotting his next move. Around midnight, William stirred. His eyes opened weakly, his lips trembling. "Margaret," he whispered. I leaned close, tears spilling down my cheeks. "I'm here. I'm right here." He struggled to speak, his voice barely a breath. "Don't let him win. Promise me." "I promise," I whispered back, squeezing his hand. But then the door creaked open. I looked up, and froze. Standing in the doorway, half hidden by the shadows, was my father. His eyes gleamed in the dim light, and in his hand was a knife. The dim hospital light flickered against the blade in my father's hand. My heart stopped. He stood there, calm, like a shadow creeping in to finish what he had started. I froze, my grip tightening on William's hand. My mother stirred in the chair, gasped when she saw him, then covered her mouth to keep from screaming. My father's voice was low, steady, dangerous. You should have stayed quiet, Margaret. Now you've forced my hand. I stepped between him and William, my knees shaking but my voice firm. If you want him, you'll have to go through me. He smirked, tilting the knife slightly. Don't tempt me, girl. You've ruined everything. Do you think anyone will believe your word over mine? I've worn this mask for years. You'll never tear it off. The sound of the heart monitor echoed through the room. William's weak hand tugged at mine, as though begging me not to give in. Suddenly, my mother stood, her hands trembling but her voice steady. No more. I've lived in your shadow too long. Tonight it ends. She reached for the emergency button on the wall, slamming her hand against it. The alarm blared instantly, red lights flashing above the door. My father lunged forward, the knife glinting, but I grabbed his wrist with all the strength left in me. The blade missed my side by an inch. His face twisted in rage, eyes burning with hatred. Let me go, you foolish girl, he roared, trying to push past me. The door burst open, 2 security guards and the sheriff rushed in. For a moment, everything blurred, shouts, hands grabbing, the knife clattering to the floor. I collapsed against William's bed, gasping, as they wrestled my father to the ground. His face slammed against the tile, but even then he laughed, a dark, bitter laugh that sent shivers down my spine. You think you've won, he spat as they cuffed him. This town will never believe you. I'll never stop haunting you. The sheriff stood over him, his jaw tight. You're finished, John. I've seen enough tonight. You'll spend the rest of your life behind bars. For the first time in my life, I saw my father powerless. His mask was shattered, his lies crumbling. The guards dragged him away as he shouted curses at us, his voice fading down the hall. The room fell silent except for the steady beep of William's monitor. I sank into the chair, tears streaming down my cheeks, relief washing over me like a flood. My mother knelt beside me, holding my hand. William, weak but alive, whispered again. You kept your promise. I nodded, my heart breaking and healing all at once. Yes. And I'll keep fighting for us. For the truth. That night marked the end of my father's grip on our lives. But the scars he left, the pain, the betrayal, would never fully disappear. They became a reminder, etched deep into my soul. And to everyone watching my story today, hear me clearly. Evil hides behind masks. Sometimes the people closest to us, the ones the world admires, carry the darkest secrets. Don't stay silent. Don't let fear chain you. Speak out, even when your voice trembles. Because truth, no matter how fragile, has the power to break lies wide open. My father thought his sin would bury me forever. But instead, it became the fire that shaped me into who I am. Broken heart, and that is my story. Thank you for listening, my dear viewers. If you stayed with me through this painful journey, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you never miss another story. And tell me, from which part of the country are you watching? I love hearing from you all. Until next time, remember this. Family isn't always the people you're born into. It's the people who stand by you, protect you, and love you when the world turns dark.